The Independent in the UK is reporting on a truly horrifying story. They say that ISIS claims it can buy its first nuclear weapon from Pakistan within a year. Now, let's fully understand here before we continue with the story that this is their claim, okay? So this is their claim. It's from their propaganda magazine, so take it with a giant grain of salt. But nonetheless, there are facts in the article to be concerned about. They say, quote, photojournalist John Cantley, who's been captured by ISIS and held for more than 2 years, wrote the piece entitled The Perfect Storm. He's referring to Boko Haram pledging their allegiance to ISIS. And he says that getting a nuke is, quote, the sum of all fears for Western intelligence agencies, and it's infinitely more possible today than it was just 1 year ago. And if not a nuke, what about a few thousand tons of ammonium nitrate explosive? That's easy enough to make. Now, here's the part that should raise legitimate concern, in my opinion, because it shows that they're not all bluster. Quote, ISIS is indeed a well-funded group having secured a number of oil fields in Syria and Iraq. The group also sells artifacts looted from historic areas seized during the insurgency, sometimes for six-figure sums, as well as imposing taxes on civilians trapped in its self-declared caliphate and other methods of extortion. The finances of the group have been estimated by some to be in the $2 billion area. Wow. So, according to experts, ISIS can be worth as much as $2 billion. Yeah, that's a problem. Now, a lot of people are going to take what I just laid out for you here, and they'll use that information to steer it in a neocon direction. It's like, oh, all out war. All systems go. Let's fucking unleash the hounds of hell on everybody here. That's not the intelligent way to respond, and in many ways, you actually be giving ISIS what they want if you do that, because then they could, broaden out the war even more, because they could do a call to Sunnis and say, see, we told you the evil Americans were going to continue to oppress good civilians in the Middle East, and they'll have their arguments, they'll have their narrative, they'll stick to their guns, and you can spread it out into a broader Sunni-Shia war, and the West can get involved in something that we don't need to get involved in. But obviously, based on this evidence, there is something going on here that should be addressed and should be taken seriously. So what are the solutions? Well, the solutions are not steering the ship in a neocon direction. Again, that caused many of the problems to begin with. The solutions are, number one, okay, this is what intelligence is for. Like, I love how we always talk about the NSA, because all the stories on the NSA are negative, and how they're spying on your grandma when she's baking apple pies and watching reruns of Murder, She Wrote. Okay, that's not what the NSA is for. You don't spy domestically on all your citizens and collect absurd amounts of records that are meaningless and that you're going to use for political reasons. No, this is what intelligence is for. You should be focused. I mean, they better have some agents embedded over there. They better have a good understanding of the communications between people involved with ISIS in the region. Okay, that's what you should be doing. That's where intelligence is merited, okay? There's a big difference between doing that and spying on a grandma in Cleveland. There's no connection. One makes sense and should be legal and okay. The other one is illegal and ridiculous and unconstitutional. So let's get that out of the way. This is what intelligence is for. Number two, yes, is there a time to use special forces to try to take out the strategists for ISIS? We recently got one of them who was a former Saddam Ba'athist general, right? Which is a good thing. Yeah, this is where you need special forces to really get good intelligence, really understand what's going on, and really understand who the brains of who represents the brain of ISIS, who makes all their tactical decisions, and then you react accordingly. This is where you need special forces. And then, number three, destroy the oil fields to cut off most of their funding. Now, that should be easy. In fact, I would go as far as to say we don't even need to do that. We can actually get the Iranians to do it. We can get Shias to do it. We can get other people who have been sitting by the sidelines as the U.S. was fighting fucking everywhere. Those people can step up and do it, and it's relatively easy. But if you cut off the funding supply, shit's going to hit the fan, because it hits the fan with everybody everywhere in the world when your funding supply gets cut off. So that's the three-pronged approach. And actually, I'd say even four prongs, because the fourth one can be get the international community involved and let them lead, because I'm done with the U.S. leading, and we know when we get involved, we often fuck shit up worse, or we have ulterior motives like getting natural resources and having more power and control around the world. So it's a four-pronged approach. Number one, intelligence. Use it properly here. Number two, special forces to take out the strategists for ISIS. Number three, destroy the oil fields to cut off most of their funding. And number four, get everybody else involved. Okay, so that would be my response to it. Understand that if somebody uses this to try to push us, uses this information to try to push us in a neocon direction, it's probably just going to further exacerbate the problem.